Hello again, and welcome to episode 143 of SDGC for Thursday, April 11th. If you're not aware, Super Deformed... I just caught a image of myself with this fucking ridiculous shit on my head. And okay, so
Wait,
Super
Derek,
Deformed...
I can't see Brandon's hat.
Yeah, there's no hat.
There's no hat.
Yet. Well, hang on, that's right. Cause so Brandon, everybody else has a hat but Brandon. So we gotta correct that real quick.
All right, let me. Should we go back offline? Should we end this shit show and then come back with a cowboy hat for Brandon? All right, I'm gonna keep going.
Yay!
Super Deformed Gamescast meets right here every Thursday night at night.
Perfect.
Jesus Christ, I can't. I'm not gonna be able to get through this every Thursday night. Oh my God, I just saw the hat at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines with a wide variety of panel members.
Yeah.
You doing okay,
Whatever
John?
that means.
We also do a whole bunch of other stuff as time allows, like a separate show about movies and television, community game streaming, and a mental health support show. If you've been along, if you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, hey, feel free to stick around and maybe throw us a follow. Every single podcast is archived the next day on our YouTube channel for those who like to watch. And we're on Spotify and shit too. Jesus Christ.
And you can now subscribe to us on Twitch, apparently.
Yes, you can. We are now Twitch.
We have quality settings.
We have quality settings.
God,
we're coming up with oh my God.
Yeah. We gotta get. I gotta find the transparent. I gotta find the transparent PNG.
1138. Adam Bankhurst and me.
Adam Bankhurst subscribed. He's subscribing in real time on the show.
Who the fuck is Adam Bankhurst?
I don't know who Adam Bankhurst is. Who
could he be?
But no. So yeah, we're Twitch affiliates. So we got emotes coming. Derek, we got the emotes coming.
I gotta find the transparent PNG of Saki, and we'll have a Saki emote, and it'll be great.
It's gonna be fucking fantastic. So we appreciate, and Imran is in chat. Imran, actually, I want to give a shout out to Imran. Imran has been to every single one of my Final Fantasy VI live streams that I've done so far, and he's been. Of them.
I watched
all two. Hey, you know what? Hey, all two. It's what? There's more coming.
Stuff.
There's more coming,
man. Keep it coming. We should introduce who's on and who our guest is.
So real quick, before I introduce Adam up here, Rebecca was wondering why I was disgusted to be wearing this hat here.
You need to back the heck up before you tell that story and explain why we're all wearing hats in the first place.
So we're all wearing hats because I made a bet with Rebecca that there would be a Nintendo Direct today. And
this week. You said this week.
This week. And there wasn't.
No.
And Rebecca told me to pick the most ridiculous hat I own, which is this one. And the reason I'm and Derek and Rebecca are just wearing them in solidarity, and so was Brandon digitally. And I'm assuming Adam is wearing his baseball cap in solidarity as well.
He
is.
And Brandon has on an extremely stylish hat.
He does. He does. It looks really good. The reason I'm disgusted to be wearing this hat is because it's been sitting in a moldy, dusty box for like 5 years, and I haven't touched it. So I pulled it out and I shook it off, and this giant cloud of dust and debris flew off of it, and I was like, "This is gonna be good." So I've probably got botulism now, or some kind of horrible.
Take like a pledge wipe to the top of your head when you're done.
Some kind of horrible skin disease.
Just shine it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the story behind this thing here. And then Rebecca demanded I put the Gungeon beanie on top of it. So
of course, yes.
It's only right.
Anyway,
things that I want.
Tonight we have a very Adam. Would you describe yourself as a guest or a very special guest? How do you want me to do this?
Like a best friend. That's the kind of way we got to do it.
Yeah, you're like. I mean, I feel like that's accurate. We've hugged.
We have. I mean,
we've hugged. You know, we had a drink together.
We did. I got to meet a lot of the crew. Unfortunately, not Rebecca, but we made a little video about how awesome she was. So
we did.
Incredibly sweet.
Well,
and incredibly surprising.
Rebecca, that's because we're all incredibly sweet people.
You are.
Yeah,
I like you all so much.
Exactly. Adam Bankhurst from IGN. Adam, welcome to SDGC.
Thanks for having me, guys. Very excited about it.
You will fucking regret those words by the time this podcast
I keep hearing that.
He already is. He has to look at your hat for the next hour and a half.
Okay, so I'm going to ask. So, Rebecca, can I ask your permission? Can I remove at least the Gungeon beanie and just have the horns? Because I'm
He's so mad that his mic stopped.
I know. That's true anger.
John, you need to promise. You can remove the beanie, but you have to promise me something. You have to promise me you're not gonna destroy the beanie.
John, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Mad that
That's
he broke his
true.
voice.
He takes the hat off and his powers disappear.
Unplug and
fitting.
replug your
Must
mic
have
in.
talking all along.
Unplug and replug your mic in,
We still
John.
can't hear you, man.
All right, we're gonna attempt. John, attempt to do some tech support.
Put the beanie back.
real hard.
Have you tried putting the beanie back?
You try putting the beanie back on.
Put the beanie back on. Put the beanie back on. No, I don't care what you're saying.
John, you gotta
Put the
type in
beanie-
chat.
John.
All right, how about this? While John is trying to figure this out, and he should type to us in chat because we can't hear him. Oh, he's gonna drop and come back in. Okay, cool.
I want to
Well,
see that beanie back on.
While we're
his
working
head.
on this, before we get into serious topics,
There we go. I fixed
Yeah.
it. See, look at that.
God
Cool.
damn
Welcome.
it.
It's
Okay,
good.
listen.
So,
John, you need to promise me something. You need to promise me you're not going to destroy that beanie.
I know I'm not going to destroy the
You
beanie.
were threatening to destroy it on Twitter, John, in my heart.
because it is indwelt by Nyargan Ball, an ancient eldritch evil that controls my thoughts and my actions. Like, you know this.
I do know that, and I don't care.
Yargan Ball.
Nyargan Ball. That's his name. He told me in a nightmare.
It's possible that I like the beanie better.
Last night the beanie actually woke me up and said, "John, look out your window and see that even the dead can beg." Like, it was horrifying. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Oh my God.
I can't sleep. Like, every time I start laughing, like, the beanie says, "What is this beast that smiles at death?" Like, so yeah, that's why I'm looking for a new beanie. And I've got a new one picked out. I can't wait for everybody in the audience to actually see it. But anyway, there's a lot of shit to talk about tonight, guys. We've been wasting time
Alright.
talking about beanies and hats and Adam.
It's never wasted time.
And you're right. It's never a waste of time to talk about Adam. You are
It's
right
not,
about
no.
that. You are right about that. But tonight we're going to be talking about what happened with Bioware. We're going to be talking about our hopes and dreams for Fallen Order, which I am very, very excited about.
Star Wars Fallen Order, to be specific, for those out there who don't know the
Already in
subtitle.
I'm referring to the Harry Potter game. It's the game about Helga Hufflepuff and her downfall into Slytherin, right? Like, that's.
Wait,
what we're
hold
talking
on. No. Back
He's making
the
up everything he just said,
fuckity
Rev. It's
shit
okay.
up, because you do not slander the name of Helga Hufflepuff. that is the founder of my house, sir. You
Those
do
are
not
sacred
do
words.
this.
That's literally all I know about Harry Potter. Is
I
the
will
name Helga
destroy.
Helga.
That is a weird one thing to know about.
Helga
Harry Potter.
Hufflepuff.
I will destroy you, John. I will make you put the beanie back on.
Jesus Christ! I've never seen Rebecca this fucking worked up. Holy shit!
Lesson learned.
Wow. Okay. I was not expecting this. I wasn't expecting this reaction. Imran, Imran, if you could give me some advice in chat about how to deal with this, I would really appreciate it.
Why does he know?
Because
Why the fuck is he supposed to know?
Imran was the one who said in my Final Fantasy chat that Final Fantasy VI has more punctuation at the end of every sentence than you do. So which is a big deal.
Don't
Because you
demand
know-
that other men come in here and try to handle me. I will
No,
fight you.
Oh,
Rebecca,
she got
I'm just
you there.
scared. I'm scared, Rebecca. What do you want me to say? I'm scared.
John, I think you need to accept the L and move into the topics. 'Cause she has you pretty good
Okay,
there.
look.
I love you and we'll always be friends.
I know. Video games, right? Video games. So, it was kind of a slow week. So before we start talking about Bioware, we've got a lot to cover there. I figured we would start by talking about what we've been playing over the past week. And since Adam is our esteemed guest, I want to start with him.
So
Please.
I've been diving into the wonderful world of Sekiro. That's kind of been taking up my life.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've just been kind of trying to live in that world and take it real nice and slow and learn all the crazy secrets and stuff. But man, that is one brutal game. Oh man, but yeah,
How far are you?
Well, I just beat like the first main boss, so I'm still pretty early on.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it took me probably about an hour or so, but I felt, well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing quite like beating a boss in a From Software game. It is just heavenly amidst a hellscape of everything else.
You've got a fucking adventure coming your way. Let me tell
I've
you.
heard.
I feel like beating the bosses in Sekiro is even a little bit better than in previous From games, because
It is.
your upgrades are entirely tied to beating bosses. Which
Oh
gives,
yeah, for sure.
as opposed to just getting more souls than a usual enemy. Like, the only way to power up is to beat bosses, so it just feels that much better.
Something I love about From Software games. So I've only played like the first third of Dark Souls, and I loved it. It was great. I really want to beat it someday. But I love it when a new From Software game like that comes out because I don't play it, and I just watch Twitter play it. It's just it's everybody in the community having this same shared experience and all getting pissed off at the same time and then overcoming it. So I'm just like watching my Twitter feed, and it's like, yeah, I just beat the slug demon, and then someone's like, oh, just wait until you get to Golgarath the Sinful, or whatever the fuck their names are.
That's a fairly accurate approximation.
How did you know my college nickname? That's weird.
I had to summon Sad Aunt Rebecca to beat him. Like,
yeah, no, it's just I love watching the, like I become familiar with the game through everybody talking about it, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I was like that.
What has been your Golgarath the Sinful, Adam?
Well, I was like that for the longest time. I never played any of the Dark Souls games, but I fell in love with Bloodborne. That was the one that kind of welcomed me into the world of those games, and I beat the game, and it was probably one of my greatest achievements because I just felt so proud, so good about it. So jumping into Sekiro after kind of understanding the formula was kind of a pretty cool experience and seeing stuff. But man, it's very different, especially, Bloodborne's all about dodging and getting out of the way of everybody, and this is all about parrying and getting in front of people.
I think it's really fascinating.
Your brain.
They've like, I guess it's a little bit addition by subtraction, but they've removed mechanics from each game to make it different.
Yeah.
In Demon Souls, you had blocking, parrying, and dodging, and then Bloodborne removed blocking, and it was just dodging and parrying. And then Sekiro removes, essentially,
basically dodging has no like invincibility.
Exactly,
frames,
dodging
right?
has no real. Yeah, you have no iframes on dodging. So it's just basically parry the game.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's like retraining your brain, and it's funny because I'm playing another game that's kind of retraining my brain. Is Baba Is You?
Baba is
you. Oh, that's a brain twister.
Baba is good.
Baba is very good, and that game, man, it makes you feel so smart, but then so stupid.
So fucking stupid. It's one of those games where you like get stuck on something and you're like so pissed off, and then you walk away from it, and then you come back the next day and you solve it in 2 seconds. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
That literally happened to me this morning. I was stuck on this puzzle for the longest time, and I didn't realize you can do there's like 3 lines. Baba Is You, and I didn't realize that you can go vertical and make things happen with that. And that took me the longest time, and I did it, and I I was like, oh my god!
I was so mad. Like, that's so obvious because you've seen it vertical and horizontal up to that point, so you should know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of like The Witness, where it's just lines, but you come back to it and you're like, oh, it's just that line right there.
It's so funny how that works. How your brain just needs like a refresh, and then it's like, oh yeah, there you go.
I do think to what you said about Sekiro and Bloodborne and games like that, the little I've played of Dark Souls, I think it's really fascinating. The From Software does a really good job of anticipating how the player is going to think. Like they understand very clearly what lesson the player is going to learn from one thing, and that they're going to keep repeating that lesson. And so then they need to give you another challenge that's going to fuck up everything you just learned and make you learn something new. And I think it's really fascinating that they can do that within a game, but then also across multiple games. Like what you guys said, they understand what everyone's already learned from Dark Souls, and so they give you Bloodborne, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna fuck all that up.
Yep.
It's really cool.
One thing I will say about Sekiro before I kick it over is having cleared the game. You guys know me. I'm a huge Souls guy. Like I fucking love everything there is to love about From Software games. The replayability of Sekiro is lacking for me compared to other Souls games, simply because, and that's no fault. I mean, that's the way the game is.
There's no builds. There's no PvP.
There's no builds. There's no different weapons. There's no there's no different classes. Like I can't do a quality build. I can't run a pyromancer.
You can't be ranged. You can't be a magic build. Like, it's just.
Exactly. Like the incentive for playing the game again is increased difficulty and an ending, but. I'll play the game again at some point, but I'm not like rushing back for a new game plus like I would be with like a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne. Like I put over 300 hours into every one of those games, and I'm kind of done with Sekiro for a while now. You know what I mean?
And even Bloodborne was like a step down in build variety from Dark Souls and Demon Souls. So
a little bit,
a consistent trend to kind of like I said, they're trimming fat in some ways for the good, some ways for the bad.
But Adam, is there anything else you wanted to mention before I kick it over to somebody else?
Yeah, no, those are kind of the main 2 things, and I actually kind of surprising. I got into the early access version of Elder Scrolls Blades, which
jealous,
and I think it's actually open to everybody now. And I was expecting
It is, but my phone's not compatible.
Oh, gotcha.
Ooh.
So
I was expecting to like play it and then instantly delete it, but it's really not terrible. Like it was actually I like found a little bit of enjoyment with it, and it's not too offensive with its microtransactions and things. And
Did you ever
it
get into
looks pretty.
Fallout Shelter?
No, I could not
Okay.
get into Fallout Shelter really. Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about it. Like it looks really good. It does feel like you're playing an Elder Scrolls game, even though I'm starting to see some repetitive environments and certain things like that. But there's something kind of cool because there's also like a town building aspect of it, which I always love in games.
Yes.
That's kind of fun where you're building your town and doing quests and things. So I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised, not expecting it. But those were kind of the main few things that I've been playing besides Smash a lot still with my brother and other people. But those are kind of the main things.
That's
You have
because you're a
good taste,
pure-hearted
Adam
man of honor.
Bankhurst.
Exactly.
That's why. You know what? Fuck it. Let's kick it over to Officer Van Dyke.
So
What are you playing, Officer?
I've been playing and streaming Dark Souls 2 and Sekiro both, because I've been kind of replaying my way through the Dark Souls series, and then, like I said, playing Sekiro, and it's been a lot of fun. Sekiro is a very, very fresh and different kind of experience. I also really love like FromSoft, so it's interesting, like y'all were saying, to kind of retrain your brain for it. It's been interesting going through Dark Souls 2 because I played each Dark Souls at release and none of them with any of the DLC. So going back through them with kind of a more familiar and more trained eye, I'm actually seeing how flexible Dark Souls actually is with its difficulty in a lot of ways. Like how many options there are within the game to make it easier for you if that's what you want and allow you to create your own challenge. In a way that I don't think I saw before, which is just very interesting to kind of like see more of the designer's intention than I originally caught. And then on personal time, I've been playing a lot of Super Robot Wars T.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah, I'm the big like super weeaboo nerd of the group, like worse than everyone else. So Super Robot Wars is basically like tactical, grid-based RPG. It's all classic like mecha and sci-fi anime. So it's got like
That's pretty weeaboo.
Yeah, it is. But this one has
fuck.
like Cowboy Bebop and G Gundam and Captain Harlock and a bunch of like really old classics that I really
I'm being
love.
overwhelmed by the powerful anime energy flowing from Derek right now.
But yeah, so and that's been just a ton of fun. It's a big improvement over the previous entries, even though it's using a lot of the same assets and the same engine. It feels a lot more streamlined. The difficulty feels maybe a little bit more metered out. A lot of nice little quality of life improvements. If people out there like Fire Emblem and enjoy giant robots at all, like check out the Super Robot Wars series. You just have to import them because it's a licensing nightmare in the US. So
I just noticed that this thing I'm wearing on my head, this disgusting flea-bitten thing,
yeah,
actually makes me look like a hobbit. I've got like hobbit hair with
Yeah, it
horns
really
coming out of my
does.
head. Like
You
I just
complain
noticed
about
that.
it the whole night because you being allowed to complain about it was not part of the bet.
Jesus Christ!
You accept your fate, John.
All right, I guess I'll shut the fuck up then.
I think you're fucking done.
Wow.
John, I love you
Yo,
so
just
much.
mute your mic again. It's over.
Woo! Oh man, it's getting. I might have to take this
It's
thing
getting
off because it's
spicy.
getting fucking spicy in here.
No,
I've got sweat beating on my forehead right now.
no, I like you so much. You're
Then why
so
do you hurt me
important
like
to
this,
me.
Rebecca? Then why do you hurt me like this? Do you really want to hurt me?
No.
You really want to make him cry?
Do you really want to make me cry?
No.
Thank you for not making me.
Well, that's good because I don't cry.
I
Why don't we kick it over to what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to kick it over to Rebecca next. Rebecca, what have you been playing? Let's hear it. I want to hear what you've been playing, Rebecca. I'm all horns. I want to hear it.
You're all horns. I've been playing Yoshi's Crafted World.
Yes.
Of course.
Oh, it's so good.
I love this game so much. I'm so happy that it ended up being good. I loved Woolly World just so much when I played through it. And I don't like the visuals of Crafted World as much as Woolly World because the thing about Woolly World is on the Wii U, it looked so soft. Like good feel. They're just so good at making it look soft, and his little soft feet would sink into the little soft floor, and I just loved it so much. And Crafted World isn't quite like that. Like it's all paper crafts and stuff. But the thing is, so I beat the game. I beat the final boss last week, and for some, y'all right over there, Derek?
I was pointing at my Yoshi. I got my big,
I want
my big
that.
fat Yoshi.
That was the best part about Woolly World. Were those
I would like
young
that Yoshi.
man.
Oh, yeah.
Those are
I got one. I got
small
one.
and I have a little Poochie too. But yeah, so I beat it, and I started kind of going through some of there's a few hidden secret, it's not really secret, but there's a couple of bonus levels after the final boss that are actually really hard to unlock. They require like a whole bunch of smiley flowers, so you have to go back and get all the collectibles and stuff. So I was kind of doing that. I figured, yeah, I'll just do this until I find something else I want to play. But I haven't stopped. I think I've 100%ed the entire first zone, and I'm working on the second gem section right now. And that's actually quite a bit. I don't think I've ever 100% of the game. The closest I came was Assassin's Creed 2, and I gave up because I didn't want to collect all the fucking feathers. But I don't know. I might stop at some point. I might decide I don't want to do this anymore because it keeps getting harder. And some of them are really fucked up. Like the other day, I was like, it required me to beat a boss in 1:25, which is really hard. You can't do it just by getting the fight perfect. You have to actually like find little tricks to make the fight go faster and make him skip phases, and it's difficult, and there are really difficult levels at the end, but I'm having so much fun. And I think something that I didn't love a lot in the just playing through the game is I thought the mechanic of like, you know, having kind of the 3D in like, it's a 2D game, it's a side-scrolling platformer, but it's like on a 3D field, so you can move back and forth and you can like throw eggs at things in the foreground and the background. And that's a really cool idea. And in the demo levels, they did a really good job of showcasing that. But in a lot of thanks, Kogasu.
Thank you, Kogasu, very much.
In a lot and thank you to everybody. I don't know if we thanked everybody, but thanks everybody who subscribed. You guys rule. You
get a signed autograph of me flexing for every sub.
Oh my god.
I can't wait for that.
If you don't sub, you got a signed autograph of me flexing, and that's no good.
That's a signed picture of Rebecca flexing. That's the prime. That's the premium membership right there. That's the next
okay, whatever. But yeah, so they don't, especially in the later levels, they don't use that mechanic very much. Like sometimes you move forward or back, but it's not done in like exciting kind of design ways. But that really shines when you start trying to find all the collectibles, because you have to find all the smiley flowers. You have to find, there's this little guy, his name is like Blockefeller or something, and he wants you to find all these souvenirs in the levels, but they're things that are hidden in the foreground or the background, and sometimes they're done in like really clever ways. And it's just really cool to go hunt these down and kind of see how much intelligence was put into the design of these levels and making these subtle things that look just like set dressings become meaningful things that you have to seek out. You have to pay attention to the design, like the visual and the kind of craftiness of every level. And it's really cool. It's really well done. And I love it so much. It's making me really happy. I've been playing for like half an hour to an hour every single morning before work. And I'm just really happy.
And you know, that's why I love Yoshi's one of my favorite Nintendo characters, and I'm loving Crafted World. And that's what I love, those challenges, because I did the one where you have to find all like the seagulls in the background of one of like the port levels, and like they're like peeking out behind cardboard boxes, and they're all like in cute poses and stuff.
And it's the flightless ones. You can't just hit the ones with wings. Right.
And when you're going through the levels for the first time, you like kind of notice them and you'll throw an egg at them every once or twice. But when you have to go back and look for them, you appreciate where they put them in the level. Like it is a really cool way to see things you wouldn't notice the first time around.
Well, and you know, Adam, Reb mentioned visuals, and can I just say I'm actually like Reb, I'm right at the final boss. Like I am literally before we started the podcast, I'm right at the final boss.
You did the murder clown level, yay!
So I was really stunned when this became like a fucking horror game, like a jump scare horror game. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this from Yoshi. Like, Red, there's a few moments where I was like, ha! Like it wasn't like I wasn't like jumping out of my chair, but I was definitely fucking surprised.
I had this great moment. I was talking to Imran about it, and he asked me, did you, how did you phrase it, Imran? He was like, did you already do the zombie level? And there is a haunted house level with zombie Shy Guys earlier in the game. So I was like, yeah. And everyone's telling me how scary it is and how fucked up it is. And the horror level, whatever it was you said, it was a vague thing. And I'm like, yeah, no, it was fine. It was super cute. It has little ghosts with beady eyes. It was hilarious. What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? And then I get to the murder clown level, and oh no, it's a fucking murder clown.
It's a fucking slasher game all of a sudden.
But it's so well designed. The whole thing is playing like the moment when the light. And I'm sorry, I'm spoiling Yoshi's Crafted World for everybody. The moment when the light flickers and then goes out above like the thing that you're trying to collect, or when you're hitting the box to get eggs, and all of a sudden a fucking clown comes out, like it's timed perfectly, so it's right when you're about halfway through getting the eggs, and then he just appears and you're like, fuck. It's so well done.
Well, there's also that message right at the beginning of the stage where it's like, don't let him see you.
If he sees you, run away.
He sees you, run away. And I was like, if who sees me?
Oh yeah, and then you
Like,
step forward, and they do it so
me?
nicely, and you can see in the background, and there's the clown, and you're like, oh.
I'm not gonna lie, for a minute, like I read that message, I was like, is my dad in the game somewhere? What's going on? I don't like it. But can I also mention this is one of the most beautiful.
It's like one level, guys. Everybody in the chat freaking out. It's literally one level.
It's one level. It's one level.
So
it's really gory and bloody and really disturbing,
John,
but it is just one level. It is just one level.
It's not bloody.
But also, can we just point out that this is also one of the most beautiful games available on Switch? Like
100%.
It is such a gorgeous fucking game. That's actually what I've been playing too.
The like dessert level with all the
dessert levels are great,
and
like
the little touches. Like when one of my favorites is the Poochie level in the dessert area where there's like a cupcake and you walk by it and Poochie pops out of the cupcake. He's been eating it.
If
and
you
then
don't
later,
want,
there's like a row of giant cupcakes and he abandons you to go eat through the giant cupcakes.
if you're a human being with like a beating heart and blood in your veins and you don't want a Poochie in your home for your own, like. Then there's no saving you. I don't know what to tell you.
I need serious help if not.
Or the moon level where you get in the rocket ship at the end and there's a little cutscene of you going up in the rocket ship and you're like, oh, that was a nice end of the level. And then you're on the moon and you jump over a gap and you go.
It's just a wholesome. And our friend of the show, Anthony Agnello, he described the game as just like a gentle massage for your brain, and that's exactly what it is.
I love that description.
I've been excuse me. I've been playing that. And I've also been playing Final Fantasy VI. I'm streaming the whole game. I'm live streaming the whole game. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Like Julian's been in there, Imran's been in there, Major PD, new listener to the show, has been in there. It's been a lot of fun streaming it with people who watch SDGC, and I'm really looking forward to continuing that and just gushing about my favorite game of all time to all of you. And
when was the last time you did a full playthrough of it?
I don't know, like 4 months ago. like, dude, I've played that game like 27 fucking times throughout my life. Good. Like, I played annually, maybe sometimes like twice annually. Like, who knows? I play a lot of Final Fantasy VI, and that's pretty much what I've been playing, Final Fantasy VI. And although I am going to push off the rest of my stream until later next week because I've got Final Fantasy VII sitting almost done on my Switch, and I'm one of those people who are like, if I start something and I don't finish it.
I didn't even know you were going through 7 at the same time.
Dude, Brandon, dude, it's like knowing that I haven't finished it yet and moving on to something else is like nails on a fucking chalkboard.
I mean, I'm sure like you know, Leo, exactly where to go.
Yeah, dude.
What's your hour count on it?
On Final Fantasy VII? I want to say I'm like 30 hours in. I'm near the end.
I was going to say, like, you can beat it in easily around like 30 to 35.
A couple more hours, yeah. Brandon, speaking of games, why don't you kick us out? Why don't you tell us what you've been playing? I know what you've been playing, but I want you to talk about it. So,
yeah, so I beat Sekiro like probably 2 weeks ago, and I've been kind of looking for something else. So Sega announced Yakuza Kiwami 2 is coming to PC soon. So I was like, okay, like that just like sparked something in my mind that was like, oh yeah, Yakuza exists, and I've never played it before. So I picked up Zero on PC. I ran through the first chapter of that. It took me about 2 hours. So I'm still very early in the prequel game.
So doesn't that game have like hour-long cutscenes?
They are long.
There's a couple that I think get close. But I mean, part of it is, the thing about Yakuza is it is almost 2 separate games. There's a very, very like heavy crime drama story.
Yeah.
And then there's insane bullshit.
It bounces back and forth perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the story is very serious crime drama, like, you know, very cinematic, and then the gameplay is straight. It's like it's a beat 'em up. I mean, pretty straightforward. It's more linear. Maybe it opens up later, but it starts very linear. Like all the street. I mean, it's just the little Japanese streets. It never gets wider than a city street, and then they put like arbitrary roadblocks all over the place to guide you on the story.
That stops. That stops.
So it's like Pokemon.
Yeah, like it's very at the beginning anyway. They're like
you get access to that whole chunk of the city pretty openly, relatively quickly.
And then there's even like a whole second city, right?
Yeah,
Brandon, how would you compare to like say The Quiet Man? Like,
I mean, it is like it's a beat 'em up like that. It is a cinematic beat 'em up like that, except obviously better in every way conceivable. You know, it's funny. I mean, like it is funny.
I mean, The Quiet Man is funny too, just for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it is. But like Yakuza has a quirky style. Just like it's immediately enjoyable. Just like the way you unlock your skills at the beginning is just like you're going through and you beat up these two drunk guys, and then with the power of your fists, they magically sober up and become friends instantly just by getting their asses kicked, which is amusing in and of itself. And then like
sounds like Marine Corps boot camp.
Yeah, exactly. And then you walk past them, and this guy pops out of nowhere. He's drunk as fuck, and then he's like, "You know what? You need to invest in yourself." And suddenly you unlock a skill tree out of nowhere just because this guy told you that you need to invest in yourself. It's good.
That's fucking here's my question, Brandon. If I did not like Sleeping Dogs, would I because I've never played a single Yakuza game.
Okay, so it's way more story focused than Sleeping. Even though Sleeping Dogs was very cinematic itself, it was still like a Grand Theft Auto style open world game. So they were very much like gameplay driven in Sleeping Dogs. This is more. It's like it's very Shenmue in pacing of the way it bounces back and forth between cutscenes and gameplay through a city. Obviously, and then also like Shenmue was a beat 'em up, right? Like it had like the Virtua Fighter battle system.
Yeah, it did.
So I mean, there's definitely very much. There's absolutely a Shenmue influence in Yakuza.
John, have you ever seen Old Boy?
I've seen the American remake. I've never seen the original, like the good one.
So first off, do it. But secondly, like Yakuza 0, I went in blind. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I got major Old Boy vibes off of the tone of the storytelling and also like the in-story battles. There will be a point where you're just fighting your way through an entire office building in the first chapter, and you're like, "Oh, I get it. This is the hallway scene." I just never stop. It's a lot of that mixed with some insanity. I couldn't even compare it to Sleeping Dogs, honestly.
It doesn't have much in relation to Sleeping Dogs. I mean, because Sleeping Dogs was a Western developed game. I mean, this in its structure, this is a very Japanese game. Like it feels, it just has that feeling of a game. Like it's not an open world game. Like it's not a role playing game. It is a beat 'em up. It is a story focused beat 'em up.
I mean, let's be perfectly honest with all the Final Fantasy games out on Switch right now, and then Resident Evil Remake, and then Resident Evil 4 coming out on Switch soon. Like, I'm probably not gonna get around to it anytime soon.
Yeah, so this game, I've seen it. It's 30 hours for the main story and 150 hours for the side content.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Put it on the Switch. That's what they got to do.
I'm good. Yeah, put it on Switch and I'll play it.
Put everything on the Switch.
I'll tell you, Yakuza 0, like it's one of those games where it grabs you right away when you start playing, and it's super awesome. And I saw like the power of those games, and I finally got it, but it kind of fell to one of those games where I just new things keep coming out, and it just kind of fell to the wayside.
I hope I can stick with it.
I know, because I would love to see that series through and see how it progresses and stuff.
There's
like
a
that.
lot of games.
I have such a problem with I jump into a game and then piece of candy, something else over there. Let's go see what that is.
I mean, and Yakuza game it's a game built around distractions. Rather, they want you to go into the arcade. They want you to use the claw grabber machine. They want you to do the fucking the hostess club. They want you to do the karaoke, all that bullshit.
Dude, the hostess club mini game is almost as good. Like it should be its own game. It's so good.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah, I want to see that.
So
I want to see how someone can put 60 hours into that.
You'll find out.
The main story.
So we do have something very serious to discuss, and this is something that I saw. I first saw on Twitter just the other day. A lot of people had weighed in on it, given their opinion on it, and I actually want Rebecca to lead the conversation on this one, and I'll tell you why. And I want Adam to kind of kick in as well. So it's a very simple question. Does Yoshi fuck?
Oh, I thought I have the schedule in front of me. I thought I knew what you were leading into. I didn't prepare to lead this conversation.
Oh, perfect curveball.
That was nice. Came right in there.
We keep you on.
No, this was because so I live in Kansas City. There are exactly 4 video game writers who live in Kansas City. Me, Brock Wilbur, freelances for a bunch of places. Rowan Kaiser, who's guest post editor at GamesBeat, and now Zach Zweeson. I think that's how you say his last name. I should have asked him, but he's the Kotaku weekend editor. And so we met Zach last night, and we decided to have a little games writer powwow and build our little games writing community in Kansas City. But over dinner, the conversation somehow turned to the question of, does Yoshi fuck? And Zach was absolutely convinced that Yoshi did not fuck. So I insisted on taking it to Twitter and made a poll. And I somehow got 400 votes on this poll. I'm not really sure how that happened.
Canon now.
It really, yeah.
And over, what did it turn out to be? Like, what, 70% ended up saying that he does fuck?
That is definitive.
I got like lots of replies making remarks about his tongue. So I'm not going to say any more than that because we have quality control on this podcast now.
I mean, that's the title of the episode now. Yoshi fucks.
Yoshi fucks. Like,
Yep.
so
Yoshi
so
fucks.
43.
I'll kick this over to Adam, and and then we're gonna move on to Bioware. But I do want to make something perfectly clear. Adam, we had Tom Johnson on from Gamerings. He's a friend of the show. He's been on a billion fucking times. And we also, and it was I'm sorry, it was Tom and Alex O'Neill actually, from Irrational Passions. And we asked the question, the Mothman, the Shik Hydrobot, and
live action Sonic.
Live action Sonic. You got to fuck one, marry one, kill one. But I offer this curveball: replace live action Sonic with Yoshi.
Oh my god!
No, we're not doing this.
Obviously, you marry Yoshi.
Doing this.
Oh yeah,
right?
Immediately.
You can't kill Yoshi, and like Yoshi may fuck, but you marry Yoshi, right? Like,
you gotta marry Yoshi.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure. And now that Chad is talking about Kirby doesn't fuck, and Yoshi and Kirby are
Kirby does not fuck.
Meta Knight
Yoshi
fucks.
Kirby does not.
Meta Knight fucks. Does Meta Knight fuck?
Meta Knight fucks. Kirby doesn't. Derek, why the heck are we the opposite on this?
I don't like it, but it's already been answered by Starbomb. Kirby fucks. That's not. I don't make that decision.
Yeah, the whole Yoshi thing is confusing because I'm like, of course he does, because there's a million eggs everywhere. But yeah, he has eggs by eating. So how does that work?
So really, Yoshi can't stop fucking. That's the problem.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And now Rar says Captain Falcon. Rar says Captain Falcon fucks. All right, you know what? We need to stop this. We need to stop this and move on to
Quality
Bioware.
control, John.
That could go on for a while.
There is, it's an illusion. It's a lie. There is no quality control on this podcast. As everybody knows, there's been some stuff about Bioware in the news. Jason Schreier wrote a very revealing, very interesting article about some of the stuff happening over there in relation to Anthem. But this is just kind of more endemic as to what's going on in Bioware as a whole. Because do you guys see the Dragon Age 4 stuff that dropped just the other day?
I saw that it dropped. I haven't read the article yet.
So
I saw the Heartbreak, and that's all I could handle.
So we'll start with Anthem, right? And I'm quoting Jason's article here. So he said, less than a week before the Los Angeles press conference held by Bioware's parent company, Electronic Arts, word came down that securing the rights to the trademark Beyond would be too difficult. Beyond was ruled out. The leadership, they didn't have any real idea of what to do. So the leadership team quickly switched to one of their backup options, Anthem. But the problem with that was it didn't mean anything. Like the term Anthem had no relevancy in the story whatsoever. So they had to write something in. He went on to say that he talked with 19 people who either worked on the game or adjacent to it, who said that the game was a story of indecision and mismanagement, and that what's even worse is there is a culture of depression and anxiety at Bioware, which are an epidemic. Many individuals have had to take stress leave or were stress casualties, which means that they got so stressed out they just left the company, and that the Frostbite engine made life miserable for many of Bioware's developers, and they were all departments are understaffed and struggled to serve their team's needs. Also, it says that the game, and this was the craziest thing, the game didn't enter production until the final 18 months. So I pose it to you guys. You're talking about the company that rose to prominence with games like really rose to prominence with games like the Star Wars games KOTOR, obviously Mass Effect, the Dragon Age series, and now we've got two duds in a row from BioWare talking about Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem.
And Anthem being so much of a dud, it made Andromeda look much, much better.
It made Andromeda look great.
I'd honestly argue it goes back further than that, because Star Wars The Old Republic was famously a major dud through most of its active life. I mean, that was one of the roughest MMO launches in recent history.
I always heard it was a huge moneymaker for them in the long term.
I mean, it may have in the long run, but I mean, it did a massive blow to the reputation.
I do remember
it being
rough.
And then Inquisition, Dragon Age Inquisition, I know that it had a lot of criticism at launch, and it once again, it did like financially very well for them. And you know, I thought it was good, but part of the article says basically that almost happened by accident and that they wished that it had failed. Many employees wished that Inquisition had failed, because Inquisition is one of those games where basically it only came together in the last final 10% stretch. And the fact that actually worked, they felt emboldened the internal culture of there's Bioware magic and it doesn't matter because we're going to fix it in the last 2 months anyway. And it'll all come together. And if Inquisition had failed, that might have been like the wake-up call to people. So there's it's been a process, I'd say, going back longer than Andromeda, if you watch the slide.
But I guess the real question is, and I'll throw this out of the group, is what exactly is what is happening over at BioWare right now? Because this is a story that we are hearing more. It sounds all too familiar now. But BioWare seems a little bit different, because they, when Jason wrote this article, somebody in chat made a really good point. Major PD said, I'd say that EA is more interested in finding out who talked to Jason rather than Jason himself. And the tone of their response to this article was decidedly hostile, and they did not deny any facet of the article that Jason wrote. They were just angry that he wrote it.
Can we actually, I want to pause there. I was going to wait until we had gone through the discussion to bring this up, but since you brought up BioWare's response, I want to kind of focus on it. Their response was the very last line of their response. We don't see the value in tearing down one another or one another's work. We don't believe articles that do that are making our industry and craft better. Was a decidedly shitty pair of lines.
Misrepresentation.
I especially think so. I mean, granted, this particular article was damning in many ways, but I would argue not as damning as, say, the articles about crunch and shitty sexism that went up last year. But those were also articles that were exposing behind the scenes in the industry, what it's like to make a game at one of these studios. And those articles were extremely fucking important, and we need more of those. But there is a crowd of people who sees those articles and decides to be shitty human beings about them. And so BioWare, in throwing those last two lines in there, I mean, it's a little bit of a dog whistle. Look at these terrible journalists who are trying to tear down the games that you love.
Which is kind of funny, because it's dog whistling. We can say it because they can't voice search us on Twitch like they can on Twitter. By dog whistling the Gamergate crowd, but they do it by basically criticizing a journalist of not playing ball enough. Which I thought supposedly was what that was all about. And it turns out that journalists doing the journalism thing is worth these fucking goobers harassing them over. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think one of the craziest things about this whole thing is it's not like this was some random guy who did this expose and he had a source or two. He talked to 19 different people, and he had this whole long thought out discussion about what was happening and all these different examples and things. And then they just kind of categorically say, you know what? It's people trying to tear us down. It's maybe you should look inward and see what's actually going on before you say something like that. It was crazy.
Well, and so here's my question. We have two no bullshit journalists on this podcast right now, Reb and Adam, right? But two very, very highly talented journalists who I respect a great deal. So I guess my question to both of you, we'll start with Reb, is, as a journalist, seeing this kind of response that is decidedly hostile towards an expose written by a journalist, let's make no bones about it. EA was very hostile towards Jason for writing that article. It was
Bioware who wrote it.
Bioware, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You could feel it dripping off of that page. So when Rebecca, when you see something like that, what goes through your head? How do you as a no bullshit professional react to something like that? Because this is your job.
I mean, it's frustrating, right? Like and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it does seem like there's kind of, especially with a lot of bigger companies, there's kind of this weird tension between the press and the companies themselves. And I don't know if it's like that in other non-gaming industries, because I haven't worked in them. I've only worked in gaming. But I don't want to say it's animosity, because it's not, because lots of press have developer and publisher friends, which is fine. Yeah. Like, we all work in the same industry. We all do the same things, go to the same events. Like, we should be ideally, like, I'm gonna get like shit for saying this, but we should be like working together. Like, the idea is they should like they should be able to make good games, and we should be able to say things about those games that are, depending on what our beat is, either critical or true, or whatever our beat happens to be. We should be able to write about those games like with as much accurate information as possible. And pieces like Jason's are not written because they want to shit on a game. They're written because they want to expose the cracks and the problems in the industry and ultimately make things better for developers. Like, the idea of exposing that thing, that one, it was a really big studio that was really disorganized. I mean, yeah, the stuff that I thought was the worst thing about it was the people who were having the mental health breakdowns. Like, that was really sucky.
That was really personal for me.
It was really awful. And there wasn't a ton of stuff in that article about it. It just kind of mentioned it a couple times. And so I was really curious as to how I wanted more information about how that was dealt with. And that was like the one kind of weak point of that article that I wanted to see more on. But again, bringing those things to light is not trying to say you shouldn't like Anthem because these things happen. It's to say, this is how the games that you love get made. But if we want to see more great games get made, we need to treat the people who make them so much better. And it really sucks to see the people at the very top of that not take that seriously, or like push back as if they've done something horrible by saying, treat the artists that we love better and take care of them and make sure that they're okay. Like, it's frustrating. I want the people who make the games I love to be able to do that in the best possible environment, in a really mentally healthy situation, and be, it's going to be hard. Like work is hard. Creativity is hard. Like, it's not going to be a perfect paradise of a job, but I want them to be able to do it with support and being taken care of. And it's frustrating when there's pushback against that. There shouldn't be a tension between the two.
Well, and like it goes back to that saying, we have to be able to criticize the things we love, or they're just not going to get better. Things aren't going to improve unless we strive for change. And we've said on this podcast before, like in regards to crunch, we owe our hobby to the people making these games. We owe everything to the developers. That is who we owe. Without devs, we wouldn't be having this podcast right now. There would be no games to talk about. So we have to treat them well. And these corporations, these big developers have to treat their people well. And we should want to get at the bottom of this. And we should want, like, when I'm wrong, which I frequently am, people on the, my friends here, my family on this podcast will tell me when I'm wrong. And they are right to do so. I want them to tell me when I'm wrong, because I'm not going to be able to correct my behavior if they don't. If there's no course correction, then there's no betterment of myself. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem, because if I'm hurting somebody, if I'm saying something that is insensitive and nobody tells me what's going on, then I'm not going to change. Even if if my intentions are good, the end result is not. And I can't affect a change if I don't know what's happening. Adam, working for a big outlet like IGN, like when you read like when all of you, like as a collective, and I don't want you to speak for the group, but just kind of, if you can, give us a general sense of, does reading something like their reaction to this article, does it have kind of like a chilling effect on the group as a whole? Is like, oh shit, like, what if we had written that? Like, I mean, do we need to be worried about being blacklisted now? How do you, what is the mood amongst a group of professionals like yourselves when you see a big developer react like this to an expose?
Yeah, I mean, it is very surprising the way they kind of react, because I'm thinking of something. It's not like we're out here trying to be TMZ and trying to get like, or National Enquirer and trying to get some crazy scoop or crazy story. Like we do have, I think we do have, especially as journalists, we do have it, a mission upon ourselves to make this industry better, because it's very true that, and I always go back to the Game Awards with Greg Miller when he tried to shout out all the game developers and stuff.
That was so good.
When it comes down to it, and right or wrong, usually it's the game journalists and the influencers and the people who are the names. They're the faces of the industry in a lot of cases, and a lot of companies are starting to have those faces. But in a lot of times, it's these people that are out there making videos talking about the games. And the reason that we've had so many of these problems, like at Riot, at Rockstar, at all this stuff, is because, first of all, game development is a very secretive industry, and you don't really know about what's going on because you have to be secret until you're ready to talk about something.
I was going to say, like part of that is because of necessity, right?
Exactly. So there's a lot of it that needs to be kept secret. But when you're a journalist and you're able to talk to these people and really kind of get a story and do stuff, that's how you spark change. Like you mentioned before, it doesn't do anybody any good just to say everything is perfect in the world, because it's a fact that it isn't. And if you kind of stand by and just assume that it is perfect, nothing is going to get changed. And that's why you've seen in the past couple of years, there have been so many people coming out to speak about some of the atrocities and bad stuff that's been going on in not just our industry, but the world as a whole, because we're such a more connected world now. And there's a lot of ways that you can spark change by just speaking, by putting words out there. And I think that we do owe it to these developers, especially the voices, the smaller voices, the people that are working on the games and don't really have the big say and are making the millions of dollars, to make sure that they have the space and the ways to make their dreams come true while not being, marginalized or, taken advantage of. And it's sad to see a company like Bioware just, come out and say something like that to the public, because it just kind of makes it feel that when something happens, you should at least look internal and make sure there's nothing going wrong, instead of just saying a blanket statement like, hey, what this person is doing is wrong. You should really take a look inside and say, maybe there is something going on, especially if he's talked to this many people. Let's see what's happening, and before we really just say something that's going on. So I think there needs to be a lot more onus on those companies to realize what we're trying to do. And we should be one industry. I mean, I know there's a lot of big differences between us, but we should work together. Like you said, it's a lot smaller of an industry than I think some people realize.
Yeah.
We go to all the same events together. We talk to each other. I mean, we go to preview events and we see the same people over and over again, and stuff travels, and we should be treating us as one family, because that's really what we are. And we want to make sure that the lives are good for these people making the games, and that, like I said, they have conditions that aren't sending them to mental hospitals or having them have nervous breakdowns, because it's so sad to hear these stories. It's crazy.
As somebody who is deeply involved with Take This, hearing about the mental illness stuff, and the anxiety and the depression really, really kind of struck home for me. And when I read the statement, Brandon, I'll kick it over to you, man, because I'd like to know what you think about this. And then I want to throw something at Derek as well about this. When I first read, like, Brandon, did you read the statement, Brandon, from BioWare in regards to? Okay.
Yeah, I sure did.
Okay, so their response was so defensive that it instantly it had the opposite effect for me, Brandon. Like, it instantly validated everything that I read in that article.
Yeah,
it
seemed overly defensive. They put up. I mean, the damning thing is that they put up the statement before Schreier's article even got published. So it was
I didn't know that, Brandon.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
it was like right when it published. Yeah,
it was like basically or it was exactly when it went up, which means they had it typed up ahead of time. It wasn't a response to them reading the article. It was a response. So Jason did say that he sent over notes of like what, like an outline of what the article was going to entail, and they reacted to the outline in a negative, manner, and they typed up their response based on that, like assumptions. They were assuming what he was going to say, and it just came off really
well.
Really,
and you know what?
Very defensive, unnecessarily defensive. Like they didn't need to come out like that. There was, a good opportunity to admit mistakes and take responsibility.
Well, here's the fucking wild thing about that is that when you go ahead, like when you know that a journalist, like probably the industry's most well-known investigative journalist, is writing an expose on you, and you just assume that it's bad, shit is probably fucked up at your company. Like shit is probably really, really fucked up. And Derek, I want to kick this to you, man, because you're like me. I know that the mental health aspect of this is really important to you, right?
Yeah.
And with so like now that this is out there in the open, like where does BioWare go from here? Like do you think that we're going to see a sea change at the company? Do you think that do you think that they're going to take a hard, long look at themselves and say, even if their reasons are like not altruistic and like, hey, we've got to improve our image? Yeah. Like what do you think the way forward for BioWare is here?
So, here's the problem: is I can say what I believe the path forward is. I have zero actual belief that it will happen, and especially not as long as BioWare is under EA, because EA has a very, very proven and long, pretty bad track record. I mean, the whole games industry does, but like EA is one of the worst ones. So part of my standard stump speech every time we get into any kind of like workers' rights issues or talk about like unionization is one of the biggest problems that face it. It hurts both the companies that make the games, so your developers and your publishers, and also the people who want to enjoy the games on the end when they're finished. Is that as long as we treat workers the way that we treat them in this industry, then they leave. The average worker stays in for it's like 3-point-something projects, and then they leave game development entirely.
It's fucking amazing games get made at all.
Software development. Yeah. And so basically what happens is we've created in the industry a revolving door of young, fresh, like programmers and designers who get involved in game development out of passion and have the passion just ground out of them until they're leaving for 3 months at a time on mental health leave and then just never coming back with no word to the company because they've been so broken. I mean, that is the end of the line. That's the racehorse being turned into Elmer's glue.
But
right?
people at the top can get away with it because
Yes.
there's an endless stream of entry-level people who just really, really want to make
Bobby
video games for a
Kotick
living.
And Activision doesn't suffer when they both post record profits and lay off 800 people. Like,
right.
it's never the CEO of the company. It's never the board of directors that suffers. It's always the poor idealistic young person who comes in looking to work on games and gets all of their hope and all of their passion turned into abuse effectively. And that's bad for them for very obvious reasons. It's bad for the companies. It's very short-sighted for the companies because if they actually kept people around longer, then you'd have more people with like real project lead experience. You'd have more people around who are maybe better able to see things coming in advance in terms of problems with design. I mean, if you read that full article about Anthem, you see from the beginning that a lack of structure really hurt this game, and the fact that they constantly want... I mean, when you change your name and then have to change the game to fit the random name you pulled up...
So fucked,
That
man.
is so against... If you actually learn about game design, one of the most important early lessons is creating your design document and sticking to it. It's knowing what you want to make before you start making it. And that's every creative field, right? Pre-production comes before production. And we saw with Anthem, a game that spent years in pre-production because they never nailed it down, waffling back and forth. Good, talented teams with experience are better able to avoid those pitfalls. They have more experienced leads who can see those things coming before they happen. A more experienced and not ground-to-paste team at BioWare would not have released Anthem the way it was. You would have seen a better product that made BioWare and EA more money and pleased gamers more had they not been part of the revolving door of designers, basically.
Well, and so let's bounce off of that, and I'll throw the final point on this to Adam before we move on to Fallen Order. You know, Derek brought up a very good point about the revolving door and the length of time that people spend in this industry. And it's one thing that it's something that I am not hopeful is ever going to change, because we all know, no matter how bad the stories are, there's always going to be that group of young, hungry developers who thinks to themselves, oh, that's not going to be me. I'm going to go work for EA. It's going to be great. I'm going to work for Naughty Dog. It's going to be great. I'm going to go work for Rockstar. It's going to be great. And I'm going to make video games, you know, the glamorous life of a video game developer, right? I think part of the problem, Adam, and part of the reason this isn't going to change is, and this does not apply to anybody here on this podcast. This doesn't apply to any of our great friends and family in chat, but a large swath of the gaming community hears this and they just don't fucking care. They want their games.
Yeah.
They just they want. I mean, just, you know, and if anybody thinks I'm wrong, just look at the reactions in the comment sections of every article about Rockstar Crunch. You know what? You know what? Hey, you got to fucking sacrifice shit if you want to get shit done. You know, like that's capitalism. You know, that's the industry. That's any industry. You got to fucking work your ass off.
That's capitalism. It sure is. That's the
It
problem.
sure
I work
is capitalism.
60-hour weeks at my job every single week. You don't see me complaining. No, shithead, that's bad.
Yeah,
Take
I'm
time
not
off.
bitching. I'm not bitching and complaining. And I've got a family with 12 kids, and
Maybe
I
that's why
barely
you're a
make any
sad,
money.
toxic asshole with 70 followers attacking randos on Twitter. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Things can be better. It's insane.
So
How dare
would
you?
we
Say
ever want
you told
anything
me
to
that
be
it's
better?
wrong to care.
they can be better, but I agree with you guys. They can, and the capacity is there, but it requires empathy. And so my question for Adam is, from the gamer side of things, do you think anything is going to change?
I mean, I strongly believe that there's that sect of people that are never going to change, what we like to call the vocal minority, and the people who are the ones that are speaking out and doing stuff and making things happen. Yeah, I mean, they unfortunately are the loudest because they have something to prove that they're, you know, pieces of garbage, but that's another story entirely. But I do believe that more stories like this and getting it more out into the mainstream and doing stuff, and, you know, it's unfortunate because I don't want to get it ever to get to this point, but if something truly serious does happen and it makes national news and people start hearing it and knowing about it, it's, I don't know, I feel like it's going to get more into the, you know, the everyday language, because gaming is getting bigger and bigger every single year. I mean, esports are huge. It's the industry is making more money than movies and music combined. And it's not, this industry is not going anywhere. And stories like this need to be told. And the more they're told, the more people are going to have to react, because they can't change their mind. Because it's interesting, because that's another problem I think with the gaming industry is, we have all these issues with Anthem and all this stuff, but then it goes on to be the best-selling game of the month when it's released. So there's two stories being told. Like, there's problems going on, but then EA and all these investors see they're making a ton of money. So there's that constant battle that I think will always be there, because that's unfortunately inherent in business. But that's why I think stories like this and people speaking up is so important, because even if it's, you know, a few hundred people at a time or a few thousand people at a time, and it keeps growing and growing, that will make a difference over time. And I think that's what needs to happen. And people need to keep standing up and keep speaking, because that's, once again, that's how you make change. And you're not going to convince everybody. Unfortunately, there's always going to be those trolls, always going to be those people. But the more you talk and the more you're not afraid to really look at the issues, I think, you know, even small changes here and there can really lead to big things overall for our industry.
I would love to.
What? Hey.
What is it?
Unionize.
Exactly. Thank you.
What did she say? What did you say?
Unionize.
Oh, yes. Unionize. Yes, absolutely.
Unionize.
That is one thing that this industry sorely fucking needs, and it also needs us. It needs people like us who won't.
The industry needs us.
The industry needs us. No, Reb, they do. They need people like Adam. They need people like you
in
the industry.
The industry needs heroes like Mr. Megadev.
No, not like me. What I'm saying,
I know.
What I'm saying is the industry needs good-hearted people, empathetic people like Adam, like Reb, like Greg Miller, like people
like
who will
video
not,
game cop
like,
up there,
like Imran, who will not let these issues die, who will not drop this, like, you know, like THQ Nordic, you know, hey, shout out to Mark, fuckers, you know, like, have you fired anybody yet? I mean, you know, like, it's like people can't be quiet about these things. And the more we speak up about it, you know, the bigger chance there is of a real change being affected. It may come slowly, it may come piece by piece, but if it comes, then everybody here has done their job.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, we do owe everything. This, you know, if you're a journalist, you owe your job. If you're on a podcast like we are, we owe our hobby. Like we owe everything to the people who are making the games we love. Just like Rebecca hit the nail on the head. We owe everything to the people who are making the games we love. And 100%. We have, in my opinion, a responsibility to them. And also fuck THQ Nordic, by the way. I just want to say it again. So we will move on to.
Oh my God.
We will. What's that?
What's an 8chan? I've never heard of that before.
I don't know what it is. I don't
cool.
know. We were approached by a guy named Mark, and he hooked us up, and I don't know, man. It's whatever, dude. Fucking. What the problem was is that Officer Van Dyke wasn't on the fucking. He wasn't patrolling.
That's video game
Twitter
cop.
That day.
Save us, video game cop.
Holy shit, dude! He's video game cop. Rebecca.
Video game cop.
Yo, video game cop. Give us a line. Like, what's your catchphrase? What's video game cop's catchphrase?
Real cops don't have catchphrases.
Pretty good.
That's actually really good. That's just.
I love it when he does his voice. I love it when Derek talks.
Everybody loves when Derek talks. He has a
Derek
voice.
opens his mouth and words come out.
I gotta admit, it took a lot of work when I moved my mic to an arm up over there to make sure that it had the same acoustic effect as it did up close, because I needed to preserve that experience for you all.
Oh, holy shit. Imran says that THQ Nordic blocked him on Skype.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Imran 1, THQ Nordic 2. So let's move on to I don't know what Imran's first point was.
Let's move on to the fun thing.
Let's move on to the good shit. Let's move on to a little game called Jedi Knight Fallen Order.
Motherfucking Star Wars.
Star Wars. And Imran had actually I don't know if you actually, and by the way, don't worry, we're gamers is going to be on a shirt with my don't worry, it's coming. That's a whole other
I'm sure it's gonna be on the fucking E3 shirts this year. Like, have you ever seen the freaking t-shirts they sell at E3 every year? They say just like the dumbest things on them.
Oh no, Reb, that's a reference to what I drunkenly said to one of our Uber drivers.
I know what it's a reference to. I'm just saying it sounds like some sort of bullshit that's gonna be on one of the t-shirts.
It really does.
Yeah. And we're gonna make it happen.
Don't worry, we're gamers.
I was there for the entire story of your drunken exploits. As
so
shared
good,
by
so
our
sad.
good friend Finn.
You were there. That was a really good dramatic reading, by the way.
It was fantastic.
So Fallen Order is going to be revealed in full on April 13th, which is on Saturday. We got a poster today, which looks fucking dope. Everybody, that poster's looking good. There were some. So here's my question. There were apparently some details that leaked that may or may not be true. So there's nothing like story-wise here that's really all that incriminating. So if you don't want to hear like a few possible gameplay points, then block your ears, like mute us, but I don't think it's going to be anything that anybody needs to worry about. But Adam's got his ears blocked, but we'll get into all that in a minute. What I will say is that if there is a developer that I trust to take up the mantle of a Star Wars game, it's absolutely 110 fucking % Respawn.
Didn't say it better myself.
I can't fucking imagine another developer I would want to see take this up more. I mean, holy shit. I mean, Titanfall 2 is one of the best single player campaigns this generation.
Titanfall's so good. They came out with Apex Legends, taking over the world. I mean, I just ran through Titanfall like a month ago. It was so good, so clever, so many interesting things. It's the man. I loved it.
And so like I'm really hoping for a repeat. Or I'm really hoping we don't get a repeat of The Force Unleashed 2. Like I thought The Force Unleashed had some great parts to it. Like
for sure.
I remember my buddy Joel was playing it years and years ago, and he calls me up and I was like, dude, because he had it before I did. I was like, dude, what do you think? And he goes, I just threw a Wookiee through a fucking tree, and I've been waiting my entire life to say that. And so like that game had its good points, but what I'm hearing about the combat in this game is that they're trying to, and again, this may or may not be true, depending on whether or not this little leak is to be believed, but they're going for a parry system similar to Sekiro. And if that's the fucking case, if we're getting a parry system similar to Sekiro with fucking lightsabers, I am all fucking in all the way. Holy shit.
To rumors again.
Rebecca, you will let me have this. You will let me have this, Rebecca.
They're going to announce it the next Nintendo Direct, John. It's gonna be next week.
It's actually gonna.
Yeah, I hope they can make lightsabers feel like lightsabers. Like if you don't, they don't bounce off people. They fucking cut their arms off and shit.
I know it's Sekiro comparisons.
Game. Like it's not gonna be that. Just make lightsabers feel powerful.
Yeah. I apologize, John. I don't know jack shit about the rumors.
I'm just.
You can love what you want to love.
I will love what I want to love, but I also know you're kidding.
Because I would love the pairing system, but it's interesting because lightsaber battles. I think the reason they're so hard to kind of to kind of recreate is because as much as they are about battles and sword fighting, they're also about like dancing and elegant things. Sure. So there has to be those crazy flips and the behind the back blocks and the certain flares that kind of happen to really make you feel a part of the movie, because that's what kind of makes those scenes like, you know, Duel of Fates and everything is so great because of all those crazy moments that you remember. And it's hard when you're just kind of holding block or they just have these random flurries and stuff. So it's
doesn't lend itself well to like Assassin's Creed style flailing around with a sword, like going through models and.
Yeah, but there's there's so much potential there, and I don't know. I think I just trust, like you said, I trust Respawn so much to really figure this thing out and make it happen. And man, I'm so excited. But I also think it's so funny how I'm not really mad about this, but I feel like every Star Wars game and thing has to have a destroyed Star Destroyer somewhere in it. It's so funny.
Yeah,
like,
no, they do. They do. And also, by the way, I just want to point out, I see all you fuckers in chat talking about Metroid Prime trilogies coming and the Nintendo Direct that happened this week. I see you. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. I see you all. It's fine. I'm not even fucking concerned about it. I want every one of you to know that none of you can hurt me. None of you can affect my mood. I'm not going to let you affect who I am as a person. Like, it's fine. I know what I know and I believe what I believe, and that's fucking fine. Anybody who doesn't like it can leave our chat. It's okay.
Your laugh is the most beautiful thing to ever grace this fucking show.
Rebecca's laugh is the only thing that's keeping me from flying off the edge right now, to be perfectly honest with you. Rebecca is saving everybody with her delightful laughter.
I also love when she laughs how she just becomes toothless with her head. It's also quite wonderful.
It's the only thing that's keeping the volcano of bubbling rage inside of me from spilling out between these two ridiculous horns on each side of my head. No, I'm not salty, actually, Dio. I'm not salty at all. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. Derek, I'd like to ask you, just putting aside all these hooligans in chat right now, I'd like to ask you what you are hoping for from a Respawn Star Wars game.
It's weird because Respawn like has traditionally been an FPS team. I mean, even before their Respawn, like when you go take Vincent Zampella back to Infinity Ward, like it's FPSs. So I have no frame of reference for what they could do in that regard. I think they have an excellent sense of like.
Thank you, hold on, Derek, real quick. Thank you, Rar, for subbing, Rar. Yeah. We appreciate that.
Isn't this more of like a team of new hires? Because like obviously all the old Call of Duty guys are doing Apex.
Yeah. But like, I got no frame of reference for how like their leadership could shape a game like that. Yeah. But they clearly have a strong understanding and a strong focus on like fluidity of motion, and like their combat has always felt like their actual gunplay has always like sound design and impact wise felt really good. So I have a lot of faith that they will focus on the right things to give me a good, like, I'm assuming third person like character action to some degree. I don't mean character action as in Platinum or Devil May Cry style, but like,
well, I mean it's Stig Asmussen.
Yeah,
like
so
it's probably gonna be a little God of War.
Yeah, but like I could be about that. I just want it to be good. I just want it to be a good, like, decent story, decent amount of time, like single player experience that is good. There's not a lot of good Star Wars going on like in the gaming world.
Tell me
there
about
hasn't
it.
for a long time.
Very
so
sad.
Very long time. Like 15 years, a long time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, right, Derek? Is that like Star Wars should be a fucking sure thing IP, right? Like, there's no fucking way.
It used to be. You used to have shit like Dark Forces and Rogue Squadron.
Yep, I grew up in the days of
Pod Racer, man.
Pod Racer was actually good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
It's not fucking hard, right? Like, there's a really cool universe.
Hard,
there's a shit ton of lore. There's also a whole enough space in the lore where you can make your own shit and have it still work with the rest of the Star Wars universe and not fuck it up. There's a whole bunch of really cool characters to choose from.
Shadows of the Empire. Hell
yeah.
yeah.
There's
and you know what?
History, there's space. It's not fucking hard, people. It's really not. I don't know.
It's very fertile material for good games. So the fact that it keeps getting wasted on, we got in out of this Star Wars deal so far, we've gotten Battlefront. And we got Battlefront 2, and both of them were trash.
Don't forget about the mobile games, man. Game of the year.
Don't forget about the mobile games.
I normally am not about mobile game erasure, but I'm going to in this case. So
I am glad.
Masters of Terras Kasai.
No.
Masters of Terras Kasai. Hell yeah.
I never even played it.
There is nothing more realistic to me than Han Solo beating up Darth Vader in a fist fight.
You want to pick a random Tusken Raider and just spam the back and
Star Wars
strong punch
content.
attack?
That's the alternate history movie trilogy I want, is a Tusken Raider beating the shit out of Darth Vader with a gaffy stick. That's what I sub to.
God.
So like and this is for the group. What are we hoping to see out of this? Like I would love to see a meaty campaign that's about 15 to 16 hours long. It doesn't need to be open world, but I would like, it's Star Wars, so I would like to visit multiple planets and get to explore. I want some exploration.
You want variety.
Exactly. I want to poke around. I would love some kind of a detective element in this game. Poke around a cantina, try to figure shit out. Like there are so many, because you're a Jedi trying to hide the fact that you're a fucking Jedi. So throw me some stuff. Like there are, like Rebecca said it best, right? Like there are, excuse me, it's a huge, it's an entire universe of lore. You don't have to fucking touch, any of the characters you're familiar with. Make up your own stories as you go. Like give us something that the Star Wars universe hasn't seen yet. Adam, what about you, man? Like what are you really hoping to see out of this?
Well, what I'm hoping, when new things are announced, especially things that I truly love, like Star Wars, I love kind of just going into a little hole of a prediction. Like I'd kind of want to live what I would like to see in these games. And especially after the image of the lightsaber, the broken lightsaber and that thing, I try to, build a backstory, what I would want from that. And I just envision this world where it starts on, if you guys remember, I think it's Cato Nemodia or something
like that. Yeah.
And you're going on this mission with Plo Koon. And you're going to fight the Separatist army. You're doing all this stuff. You're a Jedi Knight, everything going. And then that's the whole training, like the tutorial. You're learning how to be a Jedi, how the combat works, all this stuff. You get a victory. Things are amazing. Like you feel so great about the victory. You look up, Plo Koon's flying above, and then all of a sudden Execute Order 66 happens. And he gets blown out of the sky. And all of your allies turn on you. And you're trying to save people or do stuff. And then your lightsaber gets hit on the bottom. And so it's broken and it doesn't even work anymore. And then it kind of pans out of you hiding or getting away of, Order 66 happening. And then a time jump. And then a time jump happens. And you kind of come back and you're, on a seedy street somewhere. You're trying to stay hidden, but you still keep this lightsaber as like a symbol of what happened and never forgetting kind of your path and like the revenge you need to get to kind of avenge the fallen, as it were, if I were to steal like an Avengers thing. But you kind of really get that feeling of loss when Order 66 happens, and then you kind of move forward and you're this, representative of this fallen order and trying to, do what you can to save the Jedi or what's left of the good in the universe.
Can we just have Adam's game? Like,
yeah, I'm in.
I don't really care what they're doing. Can we just have whatever? Can we just have that? That's fine. That seems good. Yeah.
Yes. I just something like that.
Better than Battlefront.
If they could just find a way,
it's not hard
to get it on Switch.
Oh my god!
We could just get this game on Switch.
That meme died last year.
The console that you can take anywhere you go. Like if we could just, fuck it, while we're at it, like give us Final Fantasy VI on Switch as well. Like I'm just saying, I've been begging for it for a long time.
That's reasonable.
So please. Rebecca, I am not aware of your Star Wars fandom. Like are you a big Star Wars fan? Like, do you care about this?
Oh no.
Just do it. Just pull the Rebecca, pull the band-aid off.
You've never seen a single movie, have
That's
you?
not true. We have 17 viewers.
Oh, but she was fast on that. Rebecca was like, that's not true. That's not true.
That's not true. I've seen the movies.
Oh, that's fine.
And you
okay. By the way, real quick, Rebecca, I just want to point out, I've got the Discord window right next to the, like, overlaying the Twitch window, and there's a delay, and I saw Adam's head do this, and I thought somebody was like behind Adam poking their head around him, and I was about to war. I'm like, Adam, look behind you, but it was just Adam's head delayed by like 5 seconds.
He has his ear pods in.
Rebecca, please continue. Drop the bomb, Rebecca. Let's hear it.
I don't care about Star Wars.
That's valid. That's
sorry.
fine.
I know.
I
didn't see any of the Star Wars movies until I was in college, and I watched them all, like all the 6 main ones. And I had spent my whole life being told how amazing Star Wars it is, and everyone was hyping it up. Everyone was like so just aghast that I had never seen it. and I finally watched it in college, and it was fine. Like, you know, when people hype up something for your entire life and you don't have that experience of seeing it originally, like in the same way that they did, you're just like, it's fine, it's good. I liked the new movies. I liked Rogue One. I liked the last two, whatever, however many we're on now. I don't know. I've liked all the ones I've seen. Rey's cool. Like I enjoy them, but the thing is, so this game that they're making, the Star Wars game, I'm not going to play it, and it's not because I might enjoy it, I might not, but it's not for me. It's for people.
It doesn't have to be, yeah.
No, it's not. It's for people who love Star Wars. There are things I could say where it could be like, oh, I wish they would make a Star Wars game to help me get into Star Wars. But the thing is, people who are making Star Wars shit, they don't need to make anything to get people into Star Wars. People are into Star Wars. There are so many people who are into Star Wars.
Yeah, there's a
Star Wars shit is never going to be for me. And that's like fine. What I want so badly for all of the people that I love who love Star Wars, I want a fucking competent game. I don't care how they do it. I don't care what they do. I don't care what the genre is. I would like it if no workers were exploited in the making of it. And I would like it to be a competent video game with no shitty microtransaction monetization schemes, and just I want it to be fun and entertaining and good. I just want people to like it. I want like a Metacritic score somewhere in the 80s, and I want people to generally enjoy it. That's what I want. I don't care about anything else. I'm never going to play it. I hope you get what you want, guys. I really do.
I just want to point out that Morgan Heislip in chat says Rebecca loves sand and hates younglings.
Shut up, Morgan. Oh
Brandon, so like, and by the way, I just want to point out, it is okay, everybody. It is okay to not like Star Wars.
I know it's okay. I know I'm in a safe space for that, but I just spent, I spent 21 years being told, you haven't seen Star Wars. What's wrong with you? That's exactly it. And so I finally watched it, and they were like, "What'd you think? Wasn't it amazing?" It's fine. It's whatever. I hated the what are they? The prequels 1, 2, and 3. However people refer to them. It was like Twilight in space. I was like, "Fuck this shit."
The Last Jedi is amazing. Come at me, incels.
I think Rey is like really super cool, but
Rey is
they're fine.
Cool. Yeah, and you know what's interesting?
They're all fine.
I think what's interesting about Star Wars too is the movies are great. Like I do love the movies and I love everything, but what I also love about Star Wars, like some of the best Star Wars stories happen in the TV shows or happen in books or comics and the lore surrounding it. Like the prequels, people hate a lot of the stuff from the prequels, but the stories they told in the Clone Wars television are some of the best Star Wars stories I think ever.
Star Wars Rebels is still some of the finest Star Wars
unbelievable.
There is. Like,
I mean, like, you meet Anakin's Padawan Ahsoka, who I think is one of the best characters in Star Wars, and she coming back to confront Anakin as
one of the greatest Star Wars moments was the rematch between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Like, and
that happened in a TV show.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened in.
Okay, I have exactly 2 Star Wars opinions. Here are my 2 Star Wars opinions. Leia and Holdo are fucking amazing, and I love them. Both of those characters, I love them so much. Holdo has really good hair. I'm sad that she died. And my other Star Wars opinion is the Star Wars Christmas special is the worst thing I've ever seen.
The Star Wars Christmas special is fucking amazing.
I watched the whole thing.
You don't care about Star Wars and you've seen that?
I have. I heard a lot of, like, everybody was talking about how horrible it was, and I was like, fine. I think it was on it was on Netflix or something. I had access to it somehow. And so I'm like, I told I was married at the time, and so I was like, yeah, let's watch this. And so I made him watch it with me. And if B. Arthur cannot save your show, if B. fucking Arthur can't save it, then no. You're done.
I'm just gonna.
It's the worst thing I've seen in my life.
You want some truly bad Star Wars? Then you need to see the Ewok movies.
Oh, the Ewok movies are fucking amazing. You will not disparage anything with Wilford Brimley. I'm sorry.
As a child, I knew they were bad.
No, I'm sorry, but no, those were the stories that Star Wars fans needed to hear. Okay, like I'm sorry. And by the way, can I just point out, Lumpy is low key the best Star Wars character. I'm sorry, but he is. And that's just the way it is. Lumpy is the fucking hero that Star Wars deserves. That right there. But by the way, I just want to point out. When Rebecca looked up, like, we've got like a square situation here. It looked like she was looking up at Derek, like, what the fuck, Derek?
Well, she was looking up at you.
No, my lights flickered, actually, and I was worried the power was about to go out. That was all that happened. But you can interpret that however you like.
It's caused by the stampede of Star Wars fans rushing towards your house to berate you for not caring about Star Wars now. Like, that's what it is. It's the stampede. It's coming.
I've
Brandon,
always not cared about Star Wars. Never, 28 years on this earth, I've never cared about Star Wars.
Brandon, what do you think we're going to see on Saturday, man? How much, like, do you think we're going to get like a solid 20-minute presentation, or do you think this is going to be like a quick sizzle reel and it's done?
I think it's going to be a sizzle reel, unfortunately.
You think so?
I think the big reveal is E3 time.
I guess that makes sense. Like,
yeah, we'll get a couple minute trailer. Like, it won't be a 10-second teaser trailer. It'll be.
Do you
like
think it'll be gameplay, or do you think it'll be like cutscenes?
No, I think it'll be cutscenes. Gameplay at E3.
Here's my question about the E3 thing is EA's already announced that they're not really having a press conference, so I'm curious when they're really going to show it. I mean, they could have maybe a Fallen Order section or something, or maybe on one of the big platforms and stuff. But it's it's interesting to see, EA is not really having their traditional press conference during E3. So
they're still doing game announcements, though. I bet you anything they're going to be like ahead of, because they're doing a bunch of streams and things like that.
Or,
so I'm sure, I bet you anything they say, tune in at X time for a Star Wars.
What if it's on Xbox? What if it's on Xbox's stage?
Or they could do something like that.
I could definitely see them doing that.
And that would be a great little marketing coup for Microsoft.
I mean, it's not going to be on Ubisoft or anything like that.
No. Or
Nintendo, unfortunately.
Absolutely not.
That's a real shame.
Nintendo is going to be 24/7 Animal Crossing.
Yes,
it's going to be Animal Crossing and a bunch of Metroid Prime trilogy. I'm telling you.
And the Pokemans.
John.
Great. It's going to be amazing. But Team Sabo. So I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I just want Derek raised this point, I just want a good fucking Star Wars game at this point. Like, I don't need it to be the best Star Wars game ever.
I am so ready to just let John Williams wash over me.
That's all we need at this point is just fucking a good, competent Star Wars game. And I believe that Respawn can deliver that for us.
I do too.
I really do. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens on Saturday. What time is the presentation again?
It's, I think, 2:30 on Saturday.
2:30. Okay. And this game is confirmed for a fall release, right?
They said holiday, I think.
Holiday release. Okay.
Holiday 2019.
So, I guess my last question about Star Wars is, Battlefront 2 didn't really move the needle all that great sales wise. It started off.
Obviously, did a lot of harm to their.
Did a lot of harm to the needle.
It really did. Do you think there's going
Command and Conquer screwed them up?
Do you think there is going to be consumer hesitation in regards to this one?
No, I think if it comes out and it's a good trailer, people will just be in from the start.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot different than a Battlefront, so I think there's going to be people having a lot more excitement.
It's a cinematic single player game.
Exactly. It's not. Doesn't have. I mean, who knows if it'll have a player component? I don't know if they've said that or not, but hopefully it's just a really good story with based in Star Wars with lightsaber battles, and I think they could position that really well to get some fans who have probably been lapsed to raise their heads and go, this seems pretty cool.
So we're bumping up against our time here. There's a few things I want to throw out there. This weekend, at some point this weekend, we'll settle on a time tomorrow, guys, in the DM. But we are going to be recording some more Final Fantasy retrospective stuff finally. Tom Johnson from GameRanks is going to join us once again because he's a huge Final Fantasy fan, like many of us are. And so we'll settle on a time for that tomorrow. But we will be recording at least 1 or 2 episodes of that this weekend. We are also working on a brand new show focused on lore and story for certain games, and not talking about gameplay at all. We're just gonna be doing deep dives into the lore, into the story, and Rebecca, if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna start with Chrono Trigger.
Did we decide that? Is that what was actually decided?
That's what we're gonna start with. Yeah, we're gonna start with Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
We're gonna start with Chrono Trigger.
My default favorite video game, because I think it's my favorite video game and I can't think of any game I actually like better.
I mean,
that's how it works, yeah.
I mean, I keep my copy of Chrono Trigger on DS with me.
I have my Super
all
Nintendo
times
and my DS cartridge within arm's reach of me right now.
I was cleaning out my Spotify library today, and I had 12 different remixes of Corridors of Time.
Hell yeah!
And so we're gonna start off with Chrono Trigger, and we'll be talking about the story and a lot of the bridge between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross and continuity problems, and we're gonna get into characterization. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this.
Chrono Cross did nothing wrong. Okay, it did two things wrong.
We'll get into that. We're gonna get into Chrono Cross.
Maybe that should be its own separate episode.
No, it is. We're gonna do Chrono Trigger. I think the plan is for us to do like Chrono Trigger, and then we're gonna move into Chrono Cross, and we're gonna tackle other series as well.
It's so much better
with a
to talk
slight
about
nod
them
to Radical
separately.
Dreamers and the Chrono Cross episode.
A little bit of
John.
Radical Dreamers. That's right. And but we're not gonna limit it to just Chrono Trigger. We are going to tackle the lore and story for other series that you love as well, like Metal Gear. Eventually, we'll do some Elder Scrolls stuff. That's going to be a long time coming. Resident Evil.
Plumbers Ties.
Yeah, well, Witcher. I mean, we could do. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities we could do. But again, I want to remind everybody. Even though we do have a Patreon, if you want to go subscribe, I'm not going to tell you can't. None of this will be gated. So if you do subscribe to our Patreon, that is out of the goodness of your own heart. We do appreciate that. We also appreciate, now that we are Twitch affiliates, we appreciate any subscriptions you guys want to throw at us. We will never ever ask you to pay for content. That's not something we're planning on right now. But if you want to do that out of the goodness of your heart to help us get to cons and help us get some better equipment to make a better show for you, we would deeply appreciate that. Adam, it was an absolute pleasure having you on, man. This was fucking great. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. No, it was so much fun. I really just had the best time, and it's fun to finally be on the show. You guys do some awesome stuff here.
Oh, we really appreciate that. That makes me feel good, man. That makes me feel really good. It's about time.
It's funny. It's like you guys. I mean, I'm unfortunately I didn't meet Rebecca, but meeting you guys at PAX, you guys are the type of people where you meet them and you feel like you've been friends forever. So it's you're a very welcoming bunch. So
I try to tell John that we're not a trash.
I got paid
fire.
very well for this, by the way, everybody. No.
Yeah. Adam actually had to pay to be on the podcast.
That's
I
money
demanded.
Well spent.
John apologizes to every guest that we have, talking about what a trash fire we are, and I'm like, we are the nicest. This is like I'm the newest person, and this is the nicest fucking podcast you can.
The trash fire is a vestigial trash fire from our earliest days, honestly.
That is the irony of the statement, Rebecca. And by the way, I just want to point out that Imran pretty much summed it. Imran just said in chat, John a monk threw up on me. Without any context, I just love that. Like, I know what he's talking about. But without any context, that's just, Derek's like a Buddhist monk or a Roman Catholic. Probably Roman Catholic, because Roman Catholic monks drink, man. Like, they brew beer.
They fucking do.
They brew the fuck out of some beer. Yeah, they do. But anyway, we got a lot of good content coming up for everybody. We might have some pretty cool E3 stuff happening. I'm not going to tell you about that yet, because we don't know if it's going to happen or not. But we've got possibly some really unique stuff coming your way. And we're really excited to tell you about that, if it happens. So no guarantees there. But as always, we will be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Thursday. And next week, I'm also going to be continuing my Final Fantasy VI playthrough with live commentary. So please join me for that. Derek is a robot. And if nobody has anything else, it's not always poetry. And we don't always agree. But we always keep it real. And by the way, I think I'm going to come up with a new ending show, a new tagline to end the show at some point.
No.
No, you don't.
What?
No.
First you try to get rid of the Gungeon beanie, and now this, John.
No, we're not. We're not doing the. Okay, all right. I guess some things are just too sacred.
They are.
Have a good week, everybody.
Okay.